back to the conversation. Patrick Munene, one of my guests here, is a member of parliament for Chuka-Igamba Ng'ombe, and Peter Mathuki is a former member of parliament for the East Africa Legislative Assembly. Being that you are from the Assembly, yes, you had started telling us about what is the general feeling in the East African Parliament about how Kenya is behaving currently and how much of an effect it has on the operations there.
Let me start by saying, in the last government, when President Kibaki was the president and the chair of the summits, you could see even the partner states, other partner states, having a lot of respect for Kenya. I remember one time, Kenya paid the annual subscription fee for Burundi, meaning that, of course, we have everything to gain from this community and to show commitment and brotherhood. And therefore, you could see that demonstration from President Kibaki. And I hope that should continue, because Kenya is perceived to be a big brother as such. But when we start now dragging and making sure that other partner states cannot even operate or possibly participate in the matters of the community because of our own internal issues, that takes Kenya aback. And I think that is putting us in a very bad... And I told you, secondly, members of EALA from Uganda, there's a matter in court, in the East African Court of Justice, where the members of Uganda have taken Kenya to court to say Kenya has delayed functioning of the community. And it's very clear in the treaty what it means when you try to do this kind of things Kenya is doing. And therefore, confidence level and how they used to perceive Kenya before, I can say, is really going down. An example, the East African Business Council membership has gone down, because now people don't feel, and business community don't feel, they are benefiting much from all this, and therefore they don't see the benefit of the community as much. If you look at a number of things and how people used to have a lot of interest in matters of the community, if you ask the common mwananchi on what is happening and how they benefit from this, nothing much is happening. And therefore, what I'm saying is that even Tanzania, you look about 2-3 months ago, when we are saying the consignment of business community, taking some, I think, either they were chicks or something to Tanzania, and they were all banned and stuff. There's supposed to be an assembly in place that is supposed to be handling some of these issues of conflict, that is supposed to be actually handling these matters of conflict. There were issues of stock crossing over and those kind of issues. Those some of the issues are sorted out by an assembly, a parliament that is in place, because there are committees of assembly that will try to handle some of those things.
So you think the respect for Kenya in the region is diminished?
Yeah, completely, because now we are not being perceived the way we were being perceived before. And number 3, which is important, is that during the last regime, there used to be a standalone ministry of ESA. Today, there is no standalone ministry of East African Community. It's just a department under the Ministry of Labour. What does that tell you? That we are not giving prominence to the East African Community Affairs. My advice would be going forward for Kenya, whoever will be in charge of this. We need to have a standalone ministry that will be responsible, that will be even advising Parliament, that will be advising executive, that will be advising other organs on matters of the community. Because you cannot have a department, and a department is not empowered, possibly. They don't have a budget, they don't have a role to even advise on matters of legislation. But if we had a standalone ministry, I'm telling you, Kenya still will give prominence to the matters of the community and will get respected. Yes. I think we need to get back to that.
I think, one, I need to say 2 things here, Bwana Mathuki. Let's be patriotic as Kenyans. I've been watching TVs for the last 3 months, and what I've seen about we Kenyan leaders is like, if we have lost patriotism, then we blame other people. Look at how we talk about our country. What do we say about our country? One, I want to say that Kenya still a day is a respected country in the East African community. We can't use Tanzania as a reference point, because we know Tanzania itself has issues with the If we have serious disrespect issues to the community are coming from Tanzania. If there are people who cannot use an example of respect to the community, is the Tanzanian country. Because we've seen how they have treated people from Kenya. And I've even started thinking that this thing is political, because I observed the other day when our Maasai cattle crossed to Tanzania, how the Maasais were treated, their cows were sold. And the same country, we know the attachment of the Tanzanian president currently with the opposition. So is it a coincidence that just now that they are in so close bromance with the opposition, The same opposition that go to the Maasais and tell them to demonstrate, and then after the cows have been kidnapped and sold by the president, the opposition leader travels to Tanzania the following week immediately. The same country, the same Tanzania. Is it a coincidence?
So when vans, when Tanzanian vans were blocked, were denied access to picking guests from the airport, was that a romance again?
Let me finish.
Those are real issues.
I want to say that, I want to tell the Tanzanian government that you can't work against a sitting government. If we really want to respect this community, as we say, we want to respect the East African community. But after all is said and done, we need a strong East African community. Because when we talk about job creation, when we talk about trade, when we say our youth unemployed, East African community is a big possibility to solve all these issues, employment and trade and business. So I would call upon members of parliament, both from my side and from the NASA side, let's stop these side issues. Let's go to parliament today and resolve this matter once and for all. We can't fight over numbers and forming a committee as leaders for 2 years. As 2 years, we are unable to provide a committee.
Just 9 names.
Yeah,
9 names for 2 years.
But my good brother,
you might not look very good.
But my good brother, you know, patriotism. You can't say get patriotism when you are saying the truth as it were. I have a duty as a Kenyan, number one, and as a leader to say as it is to the government and to whoever. And therefore, when we are not doing well as a country, I have a moral obligation to say, Kenya, we are not doing well at this front. Because as an interested party in matters of the region, now I'm bringing a thesis for your information. I'm writing a thesis on how Kenyan manufacturing firms will benefit from regional integration. I'm trying to come up with some of the challenges that we are facing. And these are some of the issues, the political will. Political will and commitment is lacking.
That's a good thing you are doing. But we can't measure commitment by forming a ministry. You know what had happened in the previous government? In a manner to accommodate everybody in the coalition government, we ended up forming a ministry for everything. We can't measure commitment by forming a ministry. To that, we want to know the government is committed to primary education. We want a ministry on primary education. We can't measure commitment.
All right, I would want us to wind up, but for you, Mathuki, yes, quickly.
You know, there is an MOU. That's an understanding between the partner states. And that was done by the summit. Heads of state said, to show commitment and to give prominence to matters of the community, it's good to have a standalone ministry. And that was an MOU that was there, and it has been existing. And therefore, when Kenya tries to run away from that fact, do you know what will happen? Other countries will follow key, will start now doing the same in the community. And therefore, at the end of the day, there is no issues of East African community. And that I'm saying, it's a matter, as an interested party, as an expert in matters of regional integration, it's important that countries now give matters of the community great importance.
As we wind up, being a former member of parliament for EALA, what would you advise parliament as it resumes today with regard to this matter?
I would advise them the following. One, they must put all the organs, committees in place to make sure that they move. Number two, they must not play politics with the matters of region, because the rest of East Africans are watching them. And if it's about numbers on decimal point, this point, that, we should overgrow those kind of small issues. Whoever will go to that, Parliament is a Kenyan. It doesn't matter. And therefore, when somebody says, no, we have 5.3, and therefore 5.3 means 6, are you putting matters of the country, you know, at the foremost? This is critical. So they must now try to avoid those kind of small issues and deal with issues. If numbers are there, the committee should be put in place, calculate the numbers for each side of the political divide, and move on. Can I tell you for free, and this is for record, it may come to pass? If they don't sort out those issues now, even if you elect members, somebody will go to the court of the East African Court of Justice to challenge this nomination, and therefore that will put the country again into a more complicated situation.
All right, finally.
Thank you. At least now, as Kenyans, I like what you're saying. As Kenyans, we are slowly agreeing that as a country we need to move on. We need to form these committees. We need to go to parliament. We need to actualize the role of the parliament. And the best way to do this is to drop this thing, or we won't come to parliament, we won't participate in parliament. I think it's not helping Kenya in any way. We are past election. The next election will be in 2022. So as elected members of parliament, from whichever divide of the political side, we went to Kenyans and promised them things that we do. We told them we'll serve this constitution. We took an oath of office. If you are not ready to serve as a member of parliament and you are genuine, I don't see the reason why you came to Kaudo Parliament. You have earned salary for the last 3 months. Why are you earning a salary?
Yep.
Why are people being so ungenuine with the Kenyans? Let's tell Kenyans we are all members of Parliament. Let's tell Kenyans true that all members of Parliament, both from Jubilee and NASA, are benefiting from Parliament. We are paid allowances, we are paid the salaries since the time we elected.
Right.
I've even seen NASA members of Parliament for trips. So I want to say, let's not stop cheating Kenyans. Let's come to Parliament. We can't live on politicking the whole of our lives as a country.
But a free advice is that Kenya is a signatory to the treaty establishing this African community. And when you go to Article 6D, is matters of good governance and democracy. And those are some of the things we're still fighting with as a country. So we must get our country right in some of these basic
All right,
issues.
this is a conversation that cannot end. But for now, I would like to end it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on News Center. Patrick Munene is Member of Parliament for Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe. And we have Peter Mathuki, is a former Member of Parliament for the East Africa Legislative Assembly, as we just seek to understand the politics behind the nominations of those who will be representing Kenya to the regional parliament. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. So